when I started was, I'm not old enough, I don't have an experience, I don't have enough connections. And it was always not enough of everything. And if I would have just stopped those bullshit stories, I would have had mega success early on.
Today we have Daniel Tolson, business coach specializing in emotional intelligence. Welcome, Daniel.
Ryan, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's amazing having you. We're interested. Tell us a bit about your business and the emotional intelligence stuff.
In 2010, I got a telephone call at 4 a.m. in the morning. And if you're in business, you know there's no good news at 4 a.m. in the morning. And the voice on the other end of the line said, Daniel, there's been an accident. This is not a peer support call. Now, I was working for Emirates Airline in Dubai. I was in critical incident stress management. So if there was an accident, they'd call me to come out and debrief people. And they said, but this is not a duty call. Your fiance's been involved in an aircraft accident. You've got to come down to the landside hospital. So I went down there and she was unconscious. She was in a cast from her ankle to her hip. And I knew that our life was going to change. And so over the next couple of years, I started to really commit to studying emotional intelligence. One, my wife was going through depression and anxiety. She was going to lose her job. She was in surgeries for 2.5 years. And I knew there had to be something for me to exit. I was co-leading a team of 17,000 cabin crew, but I knew that was going to come to an end. So in 2012, I took my side hustle of coaching and I turned it into a coaching and consulting business. And since then, I've had more than 18,000 people through my live events throughout the world. And that's how I start off my business, through that 4 a.m. telephone call.
Wow, phenomenal. So tell us then a bit about your business.
My clients come to me for 3 reasons. The first one is that they want to catapult their influence. They want to be more influential amongst their team. They want to be more influential with their family and their community. They also want to accelerate their impact. They have big aims, they have big goals, they have big objectives, and they want success faster. My father's generation, and maybe your father's generation, maybe they had to work for 30 or 40 years to get the gold watch. Where my clients say, I want it in my mid-30s. I don't want to have to wait till I'm 60 and about to pass on to get a gold watch. I want it now. And they want to get these goals faster. They have a need for speed. And then the third thing that they all want is they want to unleash new income levels. They walked away from their careers. They decided to be self-employed so they could write their own paycheck. And it's not just about the money. It's what they can do with the money once they get it. So they're not typically just driven by the dollar. It's what they can do. And it comes back to that impact. They want to impact more lives. I've got one client, he feeds more than 2 million homeless people a year. And he says, Daniel, $5 billion is not enough. I said, why not? He goes, we can't feed enough people.
Wow.
So they're the things that they want. They want influence, impact, and income.
Yeah, I love it. And so unpacking a couple of the principles of emotional intelligence, where do you really bring the most value to the marketplace?
It's really in that sweet spot of emotional intelligence. And my mum, she was in porn. My dad was in porn, and we owned a pawnbroking business, buying and selling secondhand goods. And we knew what we had back then, and we were street smart. So I want everybody to think that emotional intelligence is just another way for being street smart. And in business, there's 5 things that we're going to start to do really well for success. And we have to embody emotional intelligence. The first part of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. It's understanding your strengths and your limitations. And when we build a business, it's not like in the 80s anymore where we say, just give me another 10 Daniels. That doesn't work. You've got to have Daniel, and you don't want 10 more Daniels. 10 more Daniels are going to cause you so many headaches, and then one day they're going to leave you. So what you've got to do is you've got to build your business with individuals, and you've got to look at your own limitations, and then you have to go and find people who complement your limitations, and that's self-awareness. The second part of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. You're in business and there's no second place. You win and you get fed, you come second, you get a nice compliment, you don't eat. It's not even like a Monopoly booby prize, £10 in the beauty contest. You don't get that in business. You eat or you starve. And so when we're chasing business, we have to learn to deal with our emotion of anger. We've got to start to regulate anger. Also, because we're selling our ideas to internal customers and external customers, we've got to face rejection on a daily basis. And if we can't handle rejection, we will stop selling. In addition to what we're going through in COVID-19, we have to deal with our fears of losing our stability. Business ain't going back to what it was. It's changed, and it's going to keep changing. And we've got to learn to adapt, adjust, and respond faster. So that's self-regulation. Also, motivation. When we build our business, we've got to have goals that go beyond just money and status. We've got to do things that make our heart sing. We've also got to create jobs that make other people's heart sing. And this is emotional intelligence. We also have social awareness. And this is the ability to look at the customer. And in today's marketplace, if there's no empathy, there's no sale. People want a relationship before they listen to your sales pitch. No relationship, they're not going to listen to a word that you've got to say. And then finally, we have social regulation. And this is your ability to influence and persuade. See, fully 95% of your success is going to come down to your ability to influence and persuade. If you can't influence and persuade your team, how will you ever increase productivity, performance, and output? If you can't influence your customer, then they're going to keep spending with your competition, and they'll never put $1 in your account. So this is how we're bringing emotional intelligence into business building today.
Yeah, I love that. So then a personal mindset and emotional intelligence question for you. What had to change in you that took you from, that 4 a.m. call through to where you are now having a wildly successful business?
Well, for me, what I used to do was I would set totally unrealistic standards and expectations on myself. I remembered starting my coaching business, and my first goal was to earn $1 million in the first year. And that was my goal. And I thought, just because of who I am, my charisma, my excitement, my energy, my knowledge, I could make $1 million. I knew nobody making $1 million. I knew nothing about the industry. I didn't even know how I was going to find clients. And I would set these standards and these expectations and these goals so high that only failure was possible. So what I did was I set myself up for failure. I set myself up to fail, and I was my own worst enemy. And what happens is, unconsciously, I knew it wasn't possible. So what happens is you don't want to face failure. You don't want to face rejection. All of a sudden you tell people your goals and they laugh at you and they criticize you and you go, oh my gosh. And so year after year, I fell short of those targets. So I had to change the expectations on myself. I would never put those expectations on others, but I'd put them on myself. So then I'd be stressed, constantly disappointed. I had a feeling of unfulfilled expectations. And I was my own worst enemy. Once I solved that, then the business went pooh and started to take off.
Wow, that is amazing. And I'm definitely guilty of doing that myself. So could you give us one or two insights that really gave you the biggest and most dramatic growth for your business?
Well, for me, the biggest insight was, without sales, business fails. And as I looked at my business, I had to ask myself, what does the business need from me? And what the business needed from me was three things: to be able to speak, to sell, and then to coach. The coaching is what I'm passionate about, and it's the easiest thing to do. But if I can't speak about what I do, if I can't make a sale, I'll never get to do what I love. So I'd spent all of my time learning how to coach, but I didn't know how to sell it. I had always sold tangibles, but now I'm selling the intangible. And what I had to do is I had to make the invisible visible. But you can't do it without case studies. So I had to learn, how do I speak about this and how do I sell it? And so I went and learned how to speak professionally. And once I learned how to speak professionally and get my message across, then I started to get more sales opportunities, because people went, oh, I finally get what he does. I understand it. And then that gave me more selling opportunities. And again, without sales, business fails. I had to learn how people bought my product and service. And what I've learned is that my product and service is more of a psychographic than a demographic or a geographic. It's a certain pain point that they're going through right now. That's the trigger for my clients to buy. And when I can articulate their pain or problem better than they can, the sale takes place immediately. And so they're the three big things: to speak, to sell, to coach. And for some businesses, it's to speak, to sell, and to serve. It's very close. And I had to master those three areas.
Yeah, that is really good. And so then, Daniel, what advice would you give to a business owner or CEO who really wants to break through to their next level?
To break through to the next level, you've got to really understand your own personal style. Your business has to be built around your unique personality. And when you do that, you start to have congruence. People feel that excitement. I call it a constrained enthusiasm. You know who you are, you know what you're best at, and it's like you want to jump out of your skin. And they can feel this energy, and emotions are contagious. So my first mentor when I was in real estate, he said, Daniel, enthusiasm will outsell experience 10 to 1. And he spent a lot of time just helping me understand my unique strengths. He helped me understand my limitations. So I played to my strengths, and there were some limitations that I had to work on. So it was that personal performance. Once I perfected the inner game, which was my mindset, then the results started to flow. So I recommend for all business people, it's like the Greeks used to say, know thyself. You've got to know who you are. You've got to know the value that you bring to people. You have to have confidence. But more important than confidence is you have to have certainty. People have to look at you and go, this person is going to deliver on the promise. They believe in themselves. They believe in me. Let's go. And it's that emotion of certainty that really catapults you to the next level.
Yeah, wow, that is, yeah, that really sets the bar a lot higher than than just kind of having confidence, like you said. So, Daniel, if you could go back 5 years and give your slightly younger self a bit of advice, what would that look like?
Stop telling yourself bullshit stories. See, what I say in business is our biggest enemy to our success is ourself, and it comes with our self-limiting belief. And our self-limiting beliefs are the bullshit stories that we keep telling ourselves why we can't have what we want. And it's we who do the damage to ourselves. And what I'd say to myself when I started was, I'm not old enough, I don't have an experience, I don't have enough connections. And it was always not enough of everything. And if I would have just stopped those bullshit stories, I would have had mega success early on instead of just delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. If I could go back 5 years, I'd just say, Daniel, stop with the bullshit. Stop it. Stop it now.
Excellent advice. It's good. And finally, Daniel, who could you help, or who can you best help? And if they want to reach out, how can they get in touch?
The clients that I can best help with the sciences that I use, I've got more than 5,500 scientific case studies into the emotional intelligence of business owners and their employees. I've got case studies on billionaires, people who have got businesses with $100 and $150 million worth of revenues, all the way down to startups. And what I can best help them with is the emotional intelligence component, knowing who you are, understanding your personal and strategic leadership style. And then secondly, how you build a winning team around your unique characteristic and the aims, goals, and objectives of the business. And we call this the science of job matching. And using job matching, I can help my clients eliminate the risk of a bad hire by up to 93%. And that can save them, some companies, it will save them $1 million worth of losses by getting the wrong person. And so this is my sweet spot. So if you want to improve your performance, if you want to improve your team's performance, then that's the best time to reach out to me.
Yeah, I love that. And where is best to reach out to you?
Go straight to the source. Write to me, daniel@danieltolson.com. And one of the things I've learned, and it's probably the second thing I'd say to myself, Ryan, was asking for help is not a weakness. Asking for help is a sign of strength. So reach out to me directly, daniel@danieltolson.com. If you knock, the door will open. Just write to me personally.
Yeah, wonderful. Daniel, thanks so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate the value that you've shared today.
My pleasure. I'd love to do it again one day.
Thanks, Daniel.